By now, we all know what to expect of a regular school week. We wake up, we get ready, maybe have some breakfast if we're lucky, grab our bags, head out the door, and then we get to school and just walk class to class waiting for the day to end. And this usually happens for 5 days a week. However, school districts across the world are starting to change how many days they go to school. It's starting to look something more like 4 days per week instead of five. And as a former student, I would have loved to have been a part of that. They're starting to do this because they're realizing that it saves money and it also allows more planning time for teachers, which eventually leads to improvement in student performance. In order for us to want to make this change, we have to know why it is important, right? Well, one of the main points of importance is the school district budget and the differences between when a school has 5 days and a school has 4 days. Now, obviously, with a school that has a 5 day week, they're gonna have to spend more money because the transportation costs are being added on. In a research article written by Carol Chleminski in 2003 called 4 Day School Weeks, Only If They Fit, it states that according to a state education department report, many districts have been able to cut 20% from their transportation costs. And this is when they implemented that 4 day week. Also, something to take into consideration is that there are some kids that drive to school and they pay for their own gas. Now, obviously, their expenses are going to be higher once that one day is added on. So when they're in that 5 day week, as opposed to the 4 day week, and they might be faced with a decision sometime that if they don't have enough money for gas, they might just decide to skip school that day. I know that I, for one, had to pay for transportation at one point in high school, and I'm pretty sure that if I had that 4 day week, I would absolutely have not spent as much money as I did with the 5 day week. Now, there's a problem within public schools, and that is the underfunding of it. In an article posted by Lauren Cameron in 2018 called "In Most States, Poorest School Districts Get Less Funding," it states, quote, "In more than half of the states in the US, the poorest school districts do not receive funding to address their students' increased needs," end quote. Now, I just find this completely unfair and unjust because at the end of the day, these students are the ones that are being most affected by having school during those 5 days. If they were just to transition into a 4 day week, then you have those transportation cuts which add up eventually, and those underfunded schools would have that money left over which they can possibly use to meet the needs of these students in these schools. Luckily, there is strength within numbers, and there is a way to start changing this. First, we would all have to support this idea of the 4 day week and truly understand the benefits of it. Then we would have to inform others so that they understand what is going on and those differences between the 5 day schools and the 4 day schools. Eventually, people will start to agree with you and your point of view because they start to see the facts of it all. Then the next step would have to be taking it to the school board. School board has so much power In fact, that in an article written by Maria Paino in 2018 called From Policies to Principles, Tired Influences on School Level Coupling, it is demonstrated that local governments and school boards oversee many organizational aspects within schools and still wield substantial control over their local schools, despite concerted centralization efforts by the federal and state governments. So just really understanding that those school boards really do have a say in what our local schools are doing, and just taking forth your groups with that may really have an impact on their decisions. A 4-day school week even sounds great. I mean, come on, think about it. Why wouldn't a student or even a teacher want an extra day off? This would mean extra planning for the teachers, or extra studying for the kids, which of course is going to improve on their performance. Also, with these transportation cuts, again, you have more money left over for resources, and things would things would be great if it was just for 4 days. But if it remains as a 5-day week, you won't get that extra performance. You won't get that other day to plan. And actually, there's a link with attendance as well. We found that the attendance during the 5-day weeks are actually lower than the attendance for 4-day weeks. And this is supported by research conducted by Andrea Beasley and Carmen Anderson in 2007 called the 4-day school week information and recommendations. And what you see here is that there's an increase in attendance from those schools that have 4-day weeks as opposed to those that have 5-day weeks. Since we've heard it all, let's put it into play. You know about the multiple benefits of having a 4-day school week. You know that you save money through the transportation costs, and you also have more time in the sense that you get to study more. You just get that extra homework in, and teachers, they get more time to plan accordingly. And then we also know that there's a higher attendance within that 4-day week. Now, in order to make all of this happen, I would like for everyone to go ahead, and when you get the chance, I have a link up here. So what we have here is shorter school days, and if everybody would just take the time to follow the page and then also sign the petition that of this link here at the bottom, that would truly just be great. And really, we see a problem that the schools have, and all these public schools now have the answer to their issues. And that answer is to have that 4-day school week. Thank you all for your time.